You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. He lived on a quiet street in Long Island, commuted to Manhattan, ran a successful architecture firm, had a wife, 2 kids, and no criminal record. But beneath that ordinary life was a dark secret. For over a decade, bodies were turning up near Gilgo Beach, wrapped in burlap. Hidden in the brush, forgotten, police had no leads, no suspects. Until one clue, one piece of trash, changed everything. Who was Rex Heuermann? How did he hide in plain sight? And how many more secrets are buried in the sand? This is the story of the Long Island serial killer. Please be advised, this episode contains content that may be upsetting to some listeners. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Chapter 1, Suburbia's Hidden Predator, Massapequa Park, Long Island. A quiet town with tree-lined streets, American flags fluttering on porches, and neighbors who nod politely but don't pry too much. It's the kind of place where people settle down to raise families, where crime seems like something that happens elsewhere, and that's what makes this story so terrifying. Because for over a decade, a predator was living among them. Rex Heuermann was no drifter, no stranger passing through town. He lived in a modest house on First Avenue with peeling paint and overgrown shrubs. It wasn't the kind of house you'd expect from a man who made 6 figures as an architect in Manhattan. But that house, cluttered and frozen in time, held secrets no one could have imagined. To the outside world, Rex was just another Long Island commuter. He wore suits, carried a briefcase, and ran his own architecture firm in Midtown. He attended building conferences, shook hands, ate lunch at the same deli every day. He was married, had 2 kids, and kept to himself. But behind that ordinary exterior was a man leading a double life, and it would take years of failed investigations, wrong turns, and new technology to finally bring that secret into the light. Chapter 2, The Bodies at Gilgo Beach. The story truly begins in December 2010. With a search that was never supposed to uncover a serial killer. Police were looking for a young woman named Shannon Gilbert, a 24-year-old sex worker who had vanished months earlier after placing a frantic 911 call. Her last words were chilling, "They're trying to kill me." That call led to a search of the brush along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. But instead of Shannon, officers found something else, the skeletal remains of another woman, and then another, and another. Within days, 4 sets of remains were discovered, all wrapped in burlap, all within a short stretch of beach. Police immediately suspected a serial killer, but that was just the beginning. Over the next year, more remains were found, some complete, others partial. Some belonged to women linked to the sex trade, others, heartbreakingly, to unidentified victims. One was a toddler, another an Asian male. The count would eventually grow to at least 11 victims, and possibly more. Despite a massive media storm and public outcry, the investigation dragged. Leads dried up. The case grew cold. People began to wonder if the killer had vanished, or worse, if he was still out there hiding in plain sight. And all the while, Rex Heuermann lived just 18 miles from that stretch of sand, commuting into the city, coaching his kids' activities, and watching the investigation unfold like everyone else. Chapter 3, The Life and Lies of Rex Heuermann. To understand how this man stayed hidden for so long, you have to understand the kind of life he led. Rex Heuermann was born and raised in Long Island. He knew the back roads, the hidden access points, the quiet spots near the beach. He graduated from the New York Institute of Technology and eventually opened his own architectural firm. It wasn't flashy, but it was successful. He worked with major companies, Target, Foot Locker, Catholic Charities, designing commercial spaces. People who met him described him as awkward, soft-spoken, not the type you remember. But if you worked with him, you noticed things. The strange, aggressive way he handled disagreements, the long-winded stories, the intensity, the sense that something was off, even if you couldn't put your finger on it. At home, the facade continued. He kept his private life walled off. His house was crumbling, yet he made a good income. He used burner phones. He kept hundreds of internet searches involving sadistic violence, rape, torture, the kind of material that made even hardened investigators recoil. He allegedly tracked the families of the women he killed. He searched for updates about the Gilgo case. He looked up how to dispose of bodies, all while maintaining his business, his family, and his image. It wasn't just a double life. It was a mask, and he wore it with precision. Chapter 4. Years of frustration. For years, the Gilgo Beach case tormented detectives. Task forces came and went. Tips dried up. Families of the victims held vigils, pleaded with the media, and begged for answers. But nothing stuck. The killer had left almost no evidence behind. No fingerprints. No DNA. The bodies had been exposed to the elements for years before they were found, erasing most forensic trails. The investigation hit wall after wall. Part of the problem was jurisdictional. The remains had been found across multiple counties, Suffolk and Nassau. Each department had its own protocols, and collaboration was limited. Internal politics and mistrust further slowed progress. There were even rumors that some officers mishandled key parts of the case, though that was never fully confirmed. It wasn't until 2022 that a new task force was formed, uniting the FBI, state police, and local departments. They started from scratch, re-examined old cell phone records, pulled GPS data, tracked old burner phones, and most importantly, they were willing to follow the data wherever it led. And eventually, it led them straight to Rex Heuermann. Chapter 5. The evidence unfolds. The breakthrough came from a combination of digital forensics and good old-fashioned police work. Investigators discovered that the killer had used burner phones to contact victims. Those phones pinged towers near Heuermann's home in Massapequa Park and his office in Midtown. That alone wasn't enough, but it was a lead. Then they started watching him, quietly, for months. He was tailed, his movements tracked, his garbage seized. That garbage turned out to be gold. A pizza crust tossed in a public trash can contained DNA that matched hairs found on the burlap wrappings used on the victims. One of the hairs found on the remains, it allegedly belonged to his wife, a sign that the bodies had been transported in the family vehicle. The evidence piled up. His internet history revealed searches like "Why do serial killers kill?" and "Torture porn redheads." He visited sex worker forums and obsessively followed updates on the Gilgo Beach case. Police also discovered multiple burner phones, false identities, and a disturbing pattern of behavior. Careful, methodical, and deeply disturbing. In July 2023, police made their move. Rex Heuermann was arrested outside his office in the middle of Manhattan. He was charged with the murders of Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Coslow, and later Maureen Brainerd Barnes. The quiet architect was now the alleged Long Island serial killer. Chapter 6. The Faces of the Forgotten. It's easy to get lost in the sensational details, the killer's double life, the police work, the twists and turns. But at the heart of this case are the victims, women whose lives were cut short, whose families never gave up hope, and who were often ignored because of the work they did. Melissa Barthélemy was 24 when she vanished. After she disappeared, her teenage sister received taunting phone calls from Melissa's number. The caller spoke in a cold, monotone voice. He mocked her, said Melissa was dead. The calls were traced to Midtown Manhattan, just blocks from Heuermann's office. Megan Waterman, 22, was a mother. She vanished in 2010. Amber Coslow, 27, had struggled with addiction. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25, was the first to disappear back in 2007. All were wrapped in burlap. All found near Gilgo Beach. All believed to have been killed by the same man. For years, the stigma surrounding sex work kept these cases from getting the attention they deserved. But their families never stopped fighting. They held vigils, made documentaries, pressured the police. And now, after more than a decade, they may finally see justice. Chapter 7. Trial, Truth, and What Comes Next. Rex Heuermann has pleaded not guilty. His defense says the case is circumstantial. They claim the hair evidence is weak, the phone data too vague. They argue he's just a strange man with dark interests, not a killer. But prosecutors say they have a mountain of evidence and more may still be coming. The trial will likely stretch on for months, possibly years. But the bigger question lingers. Are there more victims? Investigators are re-examining cold cases, looking at missing persons reports, and scouring past data. Could Heuermann have been killing long before 2007? Or after? Was he the only one involved? As the trial approaches, the case continues to grip the nation. Not just because of its brutality, but because of what it says about the world we live in, about the monsters who blend in, about the victims who are too often overlooked, about justice, slow but relentless. This isn't just a story about murder. It's a story about masks, about the lies we tell ourselves to feel safe, and about the courage it takes to finally tear those lies down. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.